Hey YouTube, welcome back to Love for Crypto. So first things first, we've got the price drop that I explained yesterday. That was most likely, most probable to see. It couldn't have fell any perfect really. I think the low that we got was 45 cents, jumped straight back up to 48 cents. And it appears that we're in that range now. I think we'll see that for the rest of this day. Probably ranging between 48 cents, 45 cents. Again, this is no guarantee that it will remain in that range, but I'd like to see some consolidation after the fall that we've just seen from the 52 cents range from last night. So yeah, so that was perfect. I actually set up a short position last night as it seemed to start to fall over. A nice little 5% move for myself again, so that was another 200 XRP that I gained. Just to tell you the tactic I am using, I have got 1,000 XRP in Bitfinex account, which I am using for margin trading. Now, again, I am 100% happy losing this XRP. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not happy losing it. I'm prepared to lose it, and I can accept the collateral of loss in case the market does move against which way I'm betting. But I mean, so far over the past two swings, I've accumulated more than what I began with anyway, so that's been set over to the side. So again, now this 1,000 XRP is house money. Again, you know, I'm trying to play the markets, I'm trying to learn. I do understand exactly how technical analysis works. Obviously, you do have to take in considering the fundamentals, which can completely outweigh the technical analysis. In fact, they can absolutely eradicate them and destroy them. So fundamentals are always the most important in that respect. So what do I believe is going to happen next? Again, I still don't believe we are finished with this sell-off. I think we're probably at around the 50% Fibonacci retracement levels. I think from the initial surge to the top. I'm not counting the wicks in my technical analysis from the top to bottom on the Fibonacci retracement extension tool. I don't usually play for the wicks. I mean, I think there was an extra 10 cents in the wick from the ones that I am using, pushing it to 78 cents. I think that was just a massive impulse of FOMO that going into that last surge that we've seen. So I've had a look. I know Bitfinex on the open orders, especially the buy orders, we've got a lot of strong support at the 43 cents range. So I can see us ranging again between the 48 cents range, the 45 cents range. I could potentially see a sell-off. I mean, when it's going to happen, I'm not too sure. I can see some consolidation building up now, though, from the last drop. And I can personally see this remaining the same throughout the day now, just a nice little range to trade in. So, yeah, I think my target now, I'm not going to be doing a short call on this wave 5 down. It's a bit of a risky one, really, with your wave 5s. You don't exactly know how far they're going to push down. So I've done for my trading for the time being. What I am going to be looking at now is getting that buy order set in position, as I do believe we will rally after this next drop. I think this is the final drop down. I'd like to say between the 40 cents range to 43 cents range is probably the bottom that we'll see this sell off, which will probably bring it to around the 61.8% retracement. So yeah, so that's my outlook there for the markets today. I watched an Alex Cobb video this morning. I've been in work since 3 o'clock this morning. As you can see, I'm in North Wales, just for those who are curious. It's a nice scenic route, this one. So this will be a nice one for the video for the next 15 minutes or so. But yeah, so moving forwards, Alex Cobb brought to my attention yesterday, did a short little video. And David Schwartz has come out and has sort of release certain payment rails that we will be seeing when Xrapid goes live. It's the US dollar to Mexican, we've got the euro to the Mexican, we have the US dollar to Philippine currency, and we also have the euro to Philippine currency. And afterwards in his comment it does say, and Brazilian markets he thinks. So we've got 3 markets there. Again, if you watch from a documentary and the follow-up video did to it, I did say keep an eye on the emerging markets. This will be Ripple's strategy moving forward, I believe, to position itself very well for the future, getting those XRP corridors more liquid, more sufficient, a lot more cost saving. I think we can start seeing maybe a bit of money and capital moving through these not so. There's a lot of friction in these payment channels, especially from Euro to Mexican. There's really not a liquid corridor in that regard. So I think on Xrapid launch, that's something we've got to look forward to. Then we've got the Mexican, the Philippines, the US, and Brazilian. Again, this isn't including any NDAs if there is any, and this is just taking in consideration remittance costs and remittance transfers. I believe that's where XRP are going to start. In those illiquid corridors, in the emerging markets, just to get it rolling out to begin with, to build that confidence in the product, to show the world that it is doing exactly what it's set out to do, and is being used as a liquidity asset in order for value to move through those illiquid corridors. And there's a lot of friction in them corridors as well. They're not exactly very liquid corridors in that regards. With them, obviously, with the emerging market locations, not exactly being, it's not the euro to the US dollar. I mean, that's a liquid market, and I think those type of markets, especially in the forex, euro to Japan, dollar to the Great British pound, those type of corridors, I believe, will be the final phases of this. I'm just trying to think what the word is. It's completely left my mind. Yeah, but you see what I'm saying. But these corridors, which will be targeted as last, as they are sufficient as they are today. And they are very liquid corridors. That was the word. I believe at the back end of the adoption cycle, I think it will just become a lot more apparent to be using XRP as a source of liquidity. Again, obviously, we're looking out for that financial crisis, which is looming, and which is very real, to be quite fair. Again, if you did watch that documentary, I'm sure you've got a bit of information on that, and I'd like to believe you've been educated for that, and being prepared for it as well. More than anything, again, that's what this channel is about. It's about awareness. I seen that Jungle Inc got his channel back on YouTube. That's great. He's put a lot of hard work into that channel. He's got the inspirational voice, and to see him be removed from YouTube, without doing anything wrong, really, it's upsetting to see. I can imagine all the hard work he's put in, and we're only a small channel ourselves. We've been doing this since the start of the year. We took that period off through the summertime, but we are back on it at full swing now. So I'd like to see our subs start moving up. We've pushed past the 4K mark. That documentary's generated us a lot of interest, which I'm happy about. But yeah, also another thing to note, I can't exactly remember the actual position, but we appear to have a high figure attending Swell, who is from the IMF. Again, we understand the relations with the IMF. Obviously, they are the establishment that will bail out the central banks when they need bailing out, and make no question about it, those bailouts will be coming in the future. Putting a time frame on it's a little bit hard, but we can see the dominoes already starting to fall. Turkey asking for the bailouts, Argentina are asking for bailouts. I think the ECB region, European central banks, I think they're going to be in for a lot of trouble. I think all this is going to start, again, as I said, probably Q3, Q4 2019. So what we've actually got, in fact, is we've got a good solid year from Xrapid being launched, being in production. So people from the outside can analyse its product. They can analyse the data that's probably being generated from it in regards of how cost saving it is. And to make sure, obviously, that these markets are liquid, to make sure XRP is liquid enough in these Xrapid exchanges in order for the product to be able to function. Again, we can't have that with a low price XRP, because it just wouldn't be sustainable for the amount of flow. Again, we are only talking about remittances. That is the tactic for XRP and Ripple moving forward for the foreseeable, and I'd probably say for the next year. We'll be focusing on these emerging markets. We'll focus on establishing a great financial tool in order for, for Forex, basically, is what it will be used for. I mean, that's essentially what XRP is. It's a key tool for Forex. And I believe, moving forwards into the future, whether it be, during the financial crisis afterwards, 5 years, but I do believe that XRP will play a key role in Forex markets, especially moving, in the further years, as we do progress and develop. it will definitely be the go-to tool, I believe, for Forex. It just makes sense to do it. You know, if, for example, China want to trade with, let's say, for Russia, or Russia want to trade with, you know, another country, at the moment, you know, it's going through the US dollar, and the US isn't even involved in this trade, but because, again, as stated in the documentary, you know, around 65% of global trade is done through US dollars. You know, so meaning, you know, if you want to trade, you know, if China want to buy oil from Russia, in order for them to do so, China would have to change their currency into US dollar, from US dollar back into the Russian currency, in order for that trade to obviously go through. So it doesn't really, it may have made sense back in 1970 when the SWIFT system was developed. You know, this again, remembering pre-existing the internet, but you know, this is the new evolution of the internet. We have the internet of information, and again, this is the internet of value. And I do believe Ripple will be key player in making this dream come alive. They've got a lot of traction moving forward, and I think they're just doing absolutely a fantastic job. They've got a great team. They've clearly got the capital that they need in order to make this work. And as it has been made more and more apparent, XRP is the key heart to their product, really. You know, again, banks might not feel comfortable to begin with using a digital asset. You know, the main reason that being so is due down to obviously the finance regulations just clearly not being in position yet for banks. In order for banks to do it, we need that regulatory clarification. We need something. And again, we have got a UN meeting. It's the third meeting in regards to a regulatory framework. Again, that's done in the United Nations. It doesn't really get higher than that. If we can get some form of, you know, industry sort of standard regulations that we can go off as guidelines, maybe when we go into our specific sort of regions. You know, ours being in the UK might vary slightly to other different nations across the world, but if we can get an overall sort of guideline of framework for regulations, then I believe banks will then start dipping their toes into it. Again, we need that regulation. We're talking about banks, we're talking about massive payment flows, and it's something that is absolutely key and integral in order for this to work for banks. So that's why I believe Ripple and XRP are starting off with payment providers to begin with. Obviously, your likes of Western Union, MoneyGrams, who are currently in trials. There is other various ones. I'm just going to obviously use the high reputation ones to begin with. I believe payment companies will, you know, they're going to be the first to dip the toes into this product. They'll be the lab rats, if you want to call it. Obviously, you know, it's been tested over the past 3 years, XRP. I know Xrapid product itself's only about a year old, but you know, in the making, if you want to call it, over the past 3 years, XRP has been trialled, even through bank flows as trials, as a proof of concept. Again, with outstanding results, which is enabling Ripple to move forward with this traction. It's why they're getting all the personnel on the team from you know, the likes of JP Morgan and Swift, because they believe that, you know, it really is. It's key for the future. This, you know, with the amount of the way that the information, the internet of information, helps open access to all sorts. You know, emails. You can send a PFD through an email. It'll probably take you a second or two for it to arrive halfway across the world, and it's just not possible that with payments at the moment. Again, I think Ripple are just well entrenched to be that key dominant figure moving forward. So if you want to put it in comparison, you could probably maybe call it the Swift of the 1970s, and I believe this payment system we will have in set in position for decades, even if not moving into the new century. It's very possible that it can remain for so long, especially with the amount of robotic payments that we're going to require in the future for AI payments. And I have read an article that states in the future 60% of payments will actually be robotic AI payments. I mean, as you can see, this is the fourth industrial revolution is what they're calling it. You know, we've got blockchain, we've got AI, and obviously the robotic sides of things are really starting to develop a lot more. You know, maybe in 20 years time we could even see Uber in drones picking up people, you know, automated payments through blockchain technologies. and through the aid of stuff like Ripple and XRP, it is really possible. Again, don't limit your your vision to just what you know today, because this is just the start. We're talking Swift are moving 6 trillion in payments. It takes 3 to 5 days for those payments to settle, meaning that the person on the other end hasn't got access to their funds, meaning it is locked out the market. Now, if you imagine the same scenario, 6 trillion gets sent through a day, it takes 3 seconds to send. I can assure you maybe another 70% of that money will probably go back through the payment system. This is a bit of a prediction in itself. If you believe that 6 trillion a day from Swift is the cap, you are far wrong. I believe, 10 years time, that 6 trillion may potentially become 60 trillion because of how fast we can move money. If I want to send, let's say, for example, £1,000 to my friend in Japan, okay, it takes 3 to 5 days to send it. He needed that money so he could make a purchase or maybe send to his family and friends. It's going to take another 3 to 5 days. And you can see where that is going. Now, obviously, for what we're looking at as the internet of value, as an example, I could send that payment, it'd be sent in 3 seconds. He'll then get that payment, pay them bits of family, make those payments, and the flow, Ripple itself, it's great. I mean, Xrapid, the flow of money, it's water themed in that regards, but there's a lot to look forward to into the future. There really is. Obviously, we've got the Swell conference coming up on Monday. I'm really looking forward to that. Even if no announcements get dropped, it'd just be nice to see some insights of what exactly is being spoke about. I'm really anticipating the moment to be able to watch Swell. And then after that, obviously, we've got Xrapid to look forward to. Now, there's a lot of talk about this 589 in the community. I've said my part. I say I don't believe we can get a 589 if it is going to be in correlation with a financial meltdown where we will see one way inflation, which will obviously affect the price of XRP. It will dramatically start rising as inflation kicks in. But as it is stated in the documentary, we can't ignore the fact it can happen this year. Although I really do believe it will be at the back end of next year when the Fed are really starting in that tightening process. And it will dry liquidity up into the markets again, which will be the biggest killer of that financial crisis. There just will be no liquidity, which I believe XRP is really being lined up in a key position to be able to aid that liquidity when it's not present, in order for money to still move around, in payment flows and, whether it's in trade and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. I believe when Xrapid launches, I really don't think the price is going to shoot up substantially. I mean, let's say we can have a run up to $1 in Swell. I mean, but what you have to remember is, that's a speculative interest, and if we don't hear no announcements after that, we could potentially see a sudden sharp sell-off. Really, it could be a case of that: buy the news, sell the rumor, and basically, if there is no fucking news, then that rumor is going to go straight to the floor. But what we are looking at is finding a base floor with the Xrapid live, and it will create an instinctive floor, if you want to call it, where it potentially won't be able to push through that bottom because we've got X amount of volume running through Xrapid into the ledger, into those exchanges, which is obviously going to keep it maintained at that level. But I believe, if we're at $1, Xrapid launches, we remain around there. I could see maybe Xrapid potentially raising the price by maybe 50 cents to $1. It might not sound like a lot when I do say that, but what you do need to remember is there's a lot of very wealthy investors that are taking a very keen interest in this space, and if they can see that Xrapid can move the price by 50% to 100% from $1 to $1.50, $2, then that's real instinctive value. And again, we're only starting off with limited payment channels. So as being a big player, a big institutional investor looking downward at this, seeing that progression, if they can see the market move by 50% to 100% with just the initial launch of Xrapid, think about what the value will be when we are moving those trillions in a few years' time. Potentially multi-trillions of value could potentially moving through that ledger, and that's what they will be thinking. They'll be thinking to themselves, Ripple, a very good company, very smart, they're doing all the right things, they've just launched a product, it's just increased the value naturally by 50 cents to $1 because of the new payment flow coming in. And I can assure you, when we do get that 50% rise, 100% rise from Xrapid, FOMO will take that market so much more higher. It really do, speculative interest coming into it, and you'll see it pump, 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 and pump. And I believe that's where we will probably potentially get the end of year value of around $5 to $10. I've always said $10 throughout the entire year, and I have always took in consideration of the amount of, you know, FOMO, you know, especially if you get the likes of CNBC plastering this all over the news. I'm sure they've got a bag load full ready to fucking sell at the top of that, and then we'll obviously probably go back into another. We'll retrace a lot from that $10 value, in my own personal opinion. But again, obviously, you know, I'm saying all this now. There could be a fucking financial crisis literally in a month or 2 months' time. You know, Rothschild did put in there The Economist, which is a Rothschild publication. Get ready for a one world currency 1988. And if you have any inkling of who the Rothschild are, they are people to keep their words. But again, I'm not counting on that. I'm looking at this at a very conservative and realistic level. And I do believe that from 12 we can potentially gain, you know, running up to it. Maybe if we do get good news, we could even push to $2. If Xrapid could then launch and push us to $3, potentially even $3.5, $4, I can assure you now, you know, there'll be fucking all sorts of money flocking into this market. It'll push it to, I'd like to say $10. I really do think that is the case here. Again, it's very exciting because it is just going to be the initial launch, and when we do get that overall regulatory framework, you know, maybe that's put to the council at the UN and the G20, and it gets confirmation, and banks can then start using digital assets legally, because there is a rewriting of the law being done as we speak for banking and finances. I think it's Ryan Zagone who's been working on that himself, and once we can get the regulatory you know, acceptance and confidence that, okay, maybe this is something for the future, then that remittance that we've just talking about will just be one small portion of the cream pie. You know, when we're talking for business to consumer, business to business, these are where the value of payments are really high. You know, in remittance, we're only talking, you know, maybe an average between $50 to $200 per transaction. Now that's nice and that's perfect to start Xrapid up. It's a great tactic. What it will do, it'll increase liquidity. I believe, like I say, when it goes, the value of the coin will lift up due to that, obviously with the speculative interest as well, and then that'll give it a nice base end, so we can take that step up and start taking on the bigger payments. Again, it's a work in progress. It's not going to happen overnight, this, but I really do believe if we do have this financial crisis at Q2 2019 potentially, it is going to be the emerging markets that are going to suffer, especially being pegged to the dollar, especially if the dollar is getting stronger. It's only going to devalue those currencies even more as holders of the currency start flocking out of the currency. You know, they could go into gold, commodities, Bitcoin, XRP, but I think they'll remain in the Forex market themselves, and if the dollar is getting stronger, it's an investment opportunity as well to make some gains that way. And that's where the contagion basically starts when it spirals out of control. And in order for these emerging markets fear to survive, they will need a new peg that isn't against the dollar. And this is what my sort of idea is. I believe, I really do believe that during this financial crisis, I believe that XRP will maybe step in as you know, the unit of account of trade for these Forex markets. It'll remove them against the dollar, which will be causing harm to them, especially if the dollar is rising at the time. So that's what I will say in regards to that. So yeah, obviously we've got Swell to look forward to. I've covered that. We've had a little bit from Joe Katz. Again, obviously go and search Alex Cobb's video. He's got the message where he states these things. So you know, we've got some sort of, you know, payment channels that will be going live when it launches. And again, I think it will be a soft launch. I don't think it's going to be anything over the top. I just don't think there's enough liquidity in order for that to happen. And if we start off, you know, with 3, 4, 5, 6 payment channels, you know, we've got a bit of money going through it. It will be making a revolutionary stance at that point. You know, it'll be live. It's working in production. The first digital asset worldwide to actually be used for its utility and not for a speculative nature. And I can assure you, we will take top spot from Bitcoin in the not so distant future. Again, I'm actually going to put, you know, we've got a song in the XRP community that XRP Bear has. I'm sure you've all heard it. CKJ puts on at the start of his videos. I am going to actually write a Bitcoin diss song. I'm fucking sick to death of all the shit that we've had to put up with this year. So it's our time to fucking strike back, and believe me, this is going to go down like a fucking gem. I can assure you that. But yeah, I think that'll be it. That's my take on this at the moment. Again, the price movements, we fell down exactly where I believe that we was going to go. Can we go further down? I do believe we will do. Is it a certainty? No, it's not certain. It's probable that we could do that. Again, you know, at this moment in time, I'm not looking at making a trade. I want to see whether we're going to have this push down, this final fifth wave, find maybe a hard bottom at the 40 cents range, 42 cents range, 43 cents range, where we have got a lot of support in the order books in Bitfinex. Well, I'm only using Bitfinex, but again, you know, the prices are sort of in tandem with each other anyway, because you have got exchange arbitrage, which can be which is out for exposure if you do have. So you know, every exchange really in theory is sort of in line with each other. But having a look through the order books this morning, after getting the notification that position was closed, I can see a lot of support down there. But also as well, if you look on the actual charts from a technical analysis standpoint, that is a key region there of support and resistance that we have. So I think we will definitely 100% go to test the 40 cents range before making a move forward. 40 cents to 44 cents. I believe we will be stagnant throughout this day now. We'll probably start tightly consolidating. The swings will start narrowing down until the market comes to a point where you know, it's about to basically impulse either or direction. Again, I'm not looking at making a trade at this point. I think it's dangerous going into a wave 5 trade. But you know, who knows? We can only see. God, that sun is absolutely destroyed my camera. I've only just looked at that. Right, yeah, so I'm pretty much going to leave it at that then, guys. Cheers.